I can't help but notice that Marvelous have been remaking some of their old Harvest Moon games and re-releasing them under the Story of Seasons title, since they've now split with Natsume, who hold the license to the name Harvest Moon. We've had Story of Seasons, Friends of Mineral Town, Story of Seasons, A Wonderful Life, and now we have Story of Seasons, Grand Bazaar, a remake of Harvest Moon, Grand Bazaar, originally released on the Nintendo DS back in 2008 in Japan, 2010 in North America, and 2011 in Europe. Like the other games in the series, this has you growing crops, raising animals and forming relationships with the townsfolk, but Grand Bazaar's standout feature was that instead of shipping your produce to earn money, you would sell it at the weekly bazaar and earn your money that way. I really enjoyed this concept when the game originally came out on the DS, and I rated this highly among Friends of Mineral Town and Harvest Moon GBC3 as one of my favourites of the series. In Story of Seasons, Grand Bazaar, which I'll shorten to Grand Bazaar and Grand Bazaar DS to differentiate the two, has your main character moving to Zephyr Town. Zephyr Town was once well known for its world famous bazaar, drawing customers from all over the land. However, in recent years, this once famous bazaar has become a shell of its former self and in danger of closing forever. Upon arriving in town, you're met by Felix, the town mayor, who will introduce you to the bazaar as well as the basics of the game, and from there, your adventures in Zephyr Town begins. As your success in selling things at the bazaar grows, you'll find more people will start coming back, but there's a little more to it than just selling things if you want to get the bazaar back to how it was. Befriending the townsfolk, partaking in festivals and contests, as well as completing requests will all help in order to save Zephyr Town's bazaar. But is this game any good? Find out in The Good. I really enjoyed a lot of the changes made to this game for the remake. Some of the changes were made as quality of life changes or to incentivise new features introduced in the remake. For example, in Grand Bazaar DS, while you can sell items to the general store to get some money, those items would only sell for about half of their value to encourage you to sell them at the bazaar. In this game, you can sell those items for their regular price as Grand Bazaar introduces trends, which are items that can sell for more in that season due to demand. Trends change each season, and on top of selling items at the bazaar, your bazaar store can be customised as well to enhance the quality and value of the items you sell at it, with more being available as you raise the bazaar ranks. Harvest sprites, or nature sprites as they're known in the Story of Seasons games, make a return, and while you can't get them to help on your farm, you can give them items in order to raise the quality of things that you can forage in the game. Doing this, as well as going about your day, also gets you happy energy, and this can be spent at the Nature Sprites stall at the bazaar to purchase unique items, as well as the ability to access your storage, or even double as a one-way teleport with your storage at various places around town. The Nature Sprites also give you a glider which will help you move around between places quicker depending on the wind. The Nature Sprites are also key to helping your bazaar rank grow too. In Grand Bazaar DS, you would have customers approach your stall asking questions, and by answering them correctly, you help the bazaar's reputation. In this game, by selling things, you fill up a gauge, and depending on how full it is, you can activate it to have the nature sprites dance at your stall, giving you even bigger bonuses, such as selling multiple items at once, and having things sell for more as an example, which will really push up profits towards the next rank. Other things from the original have changed too, with Grand Bazaar combining the hammer and axe to make the hatchet, stepping on crops no longer affected their quality, and the ability to set up windscreens to prevent hurricanes and blizzards from damaging your crops, to name a few. The game also adds 2 more love interests, with Diana, a member of the Bazaar Review Board, and Arata, a wanderer who enjoys the outdoors. Another bachelorette, Maple, was added to the game, replacing Daisy from Grand Bazaar DS, but otherwise serving the same role Daisy played. Kagetsu, known as Emiko in Grand Bazaar DS, will now be available to visit when your bazaar hits rank 3 instead of waiting until year 2 to meet her, and Thamir, known as Amir in Grand Bazaar DS, will move in when you reach bazaar rank 4 instead of waiting until winter of the first year. You can now keep track of how much these love interests like you, whereas they were hidden in the original, and with Kagetsu you can now visit her any time after unlocking her, and she becomes more active with the town as she grows closer to you. Whereas in the original, you couldn't visit her shrine on rainy days, and she pretty much stays there all the time. Samir will also stay in town all year round instead of going back to see his family every autumn. I do love how much they modernised this game for newer audiences while retaining a lot of the things I enjoyed about the original. I was a big fan of the game's general gameplay loop, which was to sell your produce at a bazaar stall. Each Saturday in game, the Bazaar is held, and in this remake it's now split into 2 shifts, a morning and an afternoon shift with a small break in between. This small break is perfect for getting more stock from storage to sell, or to even browse the Bazaar to buy things such as pets and animals, seeds that you wouldn't normally get during the week, skills such as the double jump, which was unlocked by default in Grand Bazaar DS, as well as services to expand your farm and its facilities. I always looked forward to Bazaar days, and I would constructively have things being produced in the windmills to prepare for it. Windmills will allow you to make new items from the things that you grow, forage, mine or get from animals, with one initially being available by your farm and the other 2 in town. As you unlock each windmill, the type of items they can make expand, and the more valuable the item, the longer it takes. However, the stronger the wind that day, the quicker it will take for that item to be made. Sadly, you can no longer blow into the microphone like in the DS version to make the windmill spin faster, with the wind system replacing it. As the Bazaar ranks up due to your sales, you will also get people arriving in Zephyr Town wanting to set up their own stalls, and as part of the requirements to reach the next Bazaar rank, you need to help them get things set up. Future stall owners will generally give you a request for you to complete before they will open a stall, and these requests encourage you to use the windmills as well as help the nature sprites by raising quality levels of things too. The game's story is also tied to the Bazaar rank, with a new piece of the story unlocking as you rank up the Bazaar, which I also appreciate. Outside of farming and foraging, I also did enjoy getting to know the townsfolk better, and I also like how they have new lines as you progress in the story, as well as before and after festivals and contests, which give them more personality. Marvelous has certainly gone above and beyond with this game, but it's not all sunshine and roses, so let's talk about what I didn't like in the bad. While I did praise the quality of life changes, there are ones I wish the game did have. With item management, if you run out of space, whatever item you were trying to put away gets left on the ground and it won't disappear even if you change locations for a couple of days. I liked this, but if it was multiple items such as cut weeds for example, which you can use to make fertilizer, you can't pick these items up all at once. At best, you could stand there and hold the pick up button, but that will still pick up these items one by one. With limited time in the day and the next day starting later if you go to bed after 10 PM, this can be a minor nuisance if you're trying to get things done as quickly as possible. This also applies to if you're harvesting and you run out of space. All your produce just sits there on the ground and you have to go through the joys of having to pick up each item individually once you've made space for it. It's even worse if the items are of different quality or if you've grown a unique crop, as they will take up individual spaces too. Part of the game's grind I wasn't a huge fan of. Late in the game you'll need to fulfill requests which require you to provide ultimate lumber and ultimate stone. They're also required for late level tool upgrades too. Getting the materials is easy enough, but the time and energy required to make them is where the grind is. To make ultimate lumber for example, you need sturdy lumber. To make sturdy lumber, you need regular lumber, which in turn requires wood. You can chop branches with your hatchet to get wood, and 5 wood is required to make 1 lumber. 5 lumber is required to make 1 sturdy lumber. And finally, 5 sturdy lumber is required to make 1 ultimate lumber. The same can be said about the process to make ultimate stones. To process these items, they need to be made through your windmill, and typically you can process up to 10 items at a time with up to 6 items in a queue. And as you create better materials, the time it takes for them to be made increases too. Thankfully, you can get wonder stones for your windmills that can increase the queue, reduce processing times, and even net you extra items, but these are available in late game and cost a fair bit of money too. You can also only use 1 wonder stone at a time with each windmill, and you cannot take a wonder stone out if there are still items in the queue. While I did get ultimate stone and lumber for various achievements in the letterbox, it was still a lengthy process just to get everything I needed in order to progress in the game. I was also not a fan of the horse controls. Typically in a Harvest Moon and or Story of Seasons game, the horse would help you get around faster, but I found that this was more of a hindrance than anything. The horse would take a second to enter a trot and then you need to hold a button in order for it to gallop. The horse also only has limited stamina, so once it runs out, you're back to a slow trot until it recovers. You can increase its stamina by befriending it as well as training it for the summer and winter derbies, which also boosts friendship, but this can take some time to do. Even then, with the horse having ample amounts of stamina, the controls are still reasonably clunky, and more often than not, I would ultimately just run to where I needed to go, or if it was a windy day, just glide over there as it was just easier. Late into the game, you can get a skill in which you can forage off horseback, but that skill is very expensive, and with the horse controls the way they are, why even bother at that point? I think I've complained enough here, so let's wrap things up with the opinion. Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar is as good, if not better than I remembered it. The game's quality of life changes were certainly welcome, and it makes the game much more accessible to newer audiences as well as people familiar with the original. The game expands a little more on the story, adds new characters, and changes up the Bazaar mechanics, which I really enjoyed too. The gameplay loop adds to the addictive nature farming sims are well known for, and its Story of Seasons' greatest strength. The game is let down a little by the inability to pick up multiple items and the grind to get better level materials and the horse controls, but some of these things can be patched and fixed, and my enjoyment of the game far outweighed what I didn't like. If you're big on Harvest Moon, Story of Seasons, Stardew Valley and other such farming sims, then Grand Bazaar is definitely one to pick up, and it's easily beaten my favourite of the Story of Seasons remakes thus far, dethroning Friends of Mineral Town. I'm really interested in seeing where Marvelous goes to from here, as they've easily established that they still have what it takes. So with that, it's time for my rating. I would give Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar a giant turnip out of 10. It may not seem as impressive, but that's the best turnip this game has to offer without me having to add a number onto it. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next Infinite Backlog review. If you enjoyed today's review, feel free to like, comment and subscribe for more. You can check out our other videos or follow us on X, Instagram and Facebook. Once again, thank you for watching.